Look, it's the AK from the movie Elysium!
Oh, but you hate AKs and anyone who uses AKs.
I wouldn't say that. That's not
You
true.
despise them. You loathe them with a vehement passion. And also, those guns are awful. And unreliable.
That's not true. Now you're just making up stuff.
And they all deserve to be shot into space.
So basically, what they...
Is it just a weird sight on an AK?
They turned like an AKM into a weird semi-grenade launcher thing. There's a couple points in the movie where you see the rounds come out of it, and they're like these little thin, stabilized, exploding projectiles.
Movie?
Yeah.
What's the movie about?
It's a science fiction movie. It's like everyone that's stuck on Earth is poor and in horrible shape, and everything is fucking terrible, and a bunch of all the rich people live in space.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, it's great. What this basically is this is like a laser target designator and red dot for the explosive rounds, so that when you press, like, I guess one of the little buttons on there, and then that zeroes the distance for when the rounds explode in the air. It's neat. It just makes the AK look cool. Laser radiation danger.
Cool stuff.
Yeah, it's neat. It's cool looking.
I always have time for you, me love.
Ooh, you can tape 2 magazines together.
That's pretty cool.
That's neat. Now we'll do that. Nocturnal calibrated powerful Desert Eagle.
Does increasing amounts of damage as the night grows longer.
Yeah, this is actually a very well-modeled Desert Eagle.
Very shiny.
Yeah, this is like a nickel-plated one. Oh, and it's the 44 Magnum version! Excellent!
Is that the better version of the Deagle?
I think so. Well, okay, so it says 50 AE on the barrel,
but it says 44 mag on the left side.
So they make the Desert Eagle in multiple different calibers. The calibers they make the Desert Eagle in are 357 Magnum, 44 Magnum, 50 Action Express, and now they have 460 Desert Eagle.
Ooh.
And then I think there's another one. I can't remember.
22 long rifle.
No, they don't make it in 22 long rifle.
308.
No. You're thinking of a Thompson Center Contender.
No, I'm not. In what world would I be thinking of that?
429 Desert Eagle. 429 DE is a 44 Magnum cartridge that's been necked down slightly, which gives you a higher muzzle velocity.
You mean it's been tapered more?
They took a 44 Magnum cartridge and then had the end do a bottleneck. You get a slightly higher velocity for it. Yeah, they actually did a pretty good job modeling this. I think it's weird that they put like gold pinstriping on the trigger. I don't think I've ever actually seen that. Oh, and they put it on the... Okay, so the gold pinstriping on the trigger, on the slide release, and on the safety, and on the grip, which is odd. I don't think I've ever actually seen that on one. This is based on like the... this is based on the nickel model. Desert Eagle, I think I've said this before. The Desert Eagle pistol is, in my mind, like a Lamborghini. It's very big, it's very ostentatious, it's incredibly loud, and it's very expensive to run. But you still want one, for reasons that you can't fully explain.
It has that coolness factor.
It definitely has a coolness factor to it. In the Matrix movie, all of the agents, and probably in all of them, but in the first Matrix movie, all of the agents use Desert Eagles because they have a very commanding screen presence. Mm-hmm. They're huge, they're massive, they're really big handguns.
They very much are.
Though, to be fair, a 1911 isn't really that much smaller than a Desert Eagle. They're comparable in size. It's big, but it's not like, oh my god. I think a Mark 23 SOCOM is less than an inch shorter than a Desert Eagle. So they're very comparable in terms of size.
Something about this thing's profile, though. I don't know.
They do have a very recognizable profile. They're really interesting. I really do. I think the Desert Eagle is a really cool handgun. Would I ever get one? Maybe. It would have to be in 357 Magnum because I want to be able to shoot it on a regular basis. And
That's the cheapest ammo you can get for it?
I don't particularly enjoy shooting 50 Action Express. If you're getting a Desert Eagle for the meme, you kind of have to get it in 50 Action Express. Though now that 429 DE is a thing, I guess you can get it in 429 DE as well. Because then it's also... Then now, not only is your pistol a Desert Eagle, but the cartridge is a Desert Eagle.
They should come out with a Deagle in 420 caliber.
The 420 LMAO. Yeah, and then it only comes in weed camouflage.
Yeah.
There's a lot of versions of the Desert Eagle. One of the things that I think is really cool about it is that you can fully customize one. From the factory, you can basically contact Magnum Research. They have a builder on their website that you go on their website and you're like, I want this part, this part, this part. Make the front sight gold, make the rear sight black, make the safety lever nickel plated, I want a G10 grip on it, and I want the frame to be case hardened, and I want the barrel to be gold, and I want the slide to be nickel. Like you can fully customize one. It's funny.
And here I always heard the M16 was the Barbie for men. Turns out it was the Deagle after all.
Nah, the M16 you can add a lot of accessories to. The Desert Eagle you can just fully customize everything. They're neat. I do like them. Would I actually get one and use it like on a regular basis? No, it's more of a collector thing.
Well, this specific one does more damage to vampires.
No, it does more damage for vampires. Like if you're a vampire, it does more damage.
Well, regardless, it'll work better at 4 a.m.
Oh, they actually modeled the when I reload it, if you look underneath this right angle on the right there,
yeah,
you can actually see the hole where the piston goes into.
Oh, okay.
Ah! It's a fucking MP7.
So there you go.
Mike, I have an MP7.
You already had an MP9.
I have an MP7 though.
And an MP5. Are you collecting MPs 1 through 9?
Yes. I don't know what MP1 is, and I don't know what MP2 is, but I have MP3s. And MP4s. And an MP5. Don't have an MP6. That one actually doesn't exist. Congress made that one illegal. And then there's the MP7. And then the MP8 also doesn't exist. Also made illegal by Congress. And then the MP9, which I have. But I have an MP7 now. It uses 4.6 by 30 ammunition.
That's very specific. I don't think we have that.
No, I don't have any 4.6 by 30. There isn't actually any in here. They didn't leave any at 4.6 for me.
Real shame it doesn't just use 9mm.
Kind of like the MP9 and the P90. It is considered a personal defense weapon.
All weapons are personal defense weapons if you use them.
Shut up! It was developed for, I'm pretty sure, the same contract that the P90 was developed for. Same purpose, different interpretation.
Looks like that one has an extended magazine.
Yes, they make the magazines in a bunch of different capacities. The pistol grip is also the magazine for it. The reason I think this thing is so cool is because internally, it's kind of just a G36 but small. They made it fire a tiny, tiny little bullet. 4.6 by 30 is a smaller bullet but a larger casing than 5.7 by 28. And unlike the 5.7 by 28 that the P90 uses, the sides of the cartridge are actually tapered.
Oh, okay.
P90 cartridges are just completely straight, which is one of the reasons that the shell casings themselves have to be coated in polymer because it aids in extraction of the projectile. The 4.6 actually has slightly tapered cartridges, and the bullet is smaller.
What makes you like this gun? What's the biggest draw for this one?
I can't have one, so I want it.
Ah, it's verboten.
Yeah. Because it is, nice use of German, because it is a German gun.
Yes.
Because I can't have one, that makes me want one. 2, it's a gun that Gordon Freeman uses in Half-Life 2. So now I want one.
He uses a crowbar.
Interestingly, in Half-Life 2, they add a grenade launcher to the MP7. It's weird because the way that the MP7 is set up in Half-Life 2 is you see that little circle right there? That's where they think the barrel comes out of, and then this one is a grenade launcher, apparently.
How silly.
It's kind of dumb. I don't like it very much. What are you gonna do? It's fine.
Why would you put a grenade launcher on an SMG? Is that a normal practice?
I guess not really, but it's not without precedent because there are versions of the MP5 with an underbarrel 203 attached to them. It is a thing that people have done before. It is not completely outside of the realm of possibility, but it is a little strange. Kind of the point of a submachine gun is that you have this small, compact, lightweight, easy to maneuver, fully automatic thing.
And then you graft a grenade launcher onto it.
Yeah, sticking a heavy grenade launcher onto it isn't really the best idea. And grenade launchers aren't that heavy. Weight-wise, it kind of would be like taking a submachine gun and then duct taping another submachine gun to it.
Yeah.
It's like, why did you do that? Your thing is no longer lightweight. Anyway, the MP7, like the P90, was designed as a personal defense weapon. A weapon that is given to rear echelon troops who don't need a full-size rifle. Like, giving them an M16 or an M4 or a G36 or a G3 maybe isn't the best idea. So the P90 and the MP7 were both developed for that kind of thing. And then the thing that's interesting to me about both the P90 and the MP7 is that's what they were originally designed for. Nobody used them for that purpose. And then a bunch of tier 1 super sneaky cool guys ended up using the MP7 and the P90 because, damn, this thing is tiny. It fires really fast. That's hot shit. I'll take 7.
All right.
So
Big fans of the high fire rate.
it's more the fact that it's compact and it's a very usable weapon that works very well for them. I just think the MP7 looks so freaking cool.
It does have a very distinct profile.
It's such a cool looking gun. One of the neat things about the MP7 is these sights that are on it right now are actually the sights that the MP7 originally shipped with. So you'll notice that they look like pistol sights, right?
Yeah.
They're flip up AR style sights though. So you flip up the rear and you flip up the front, and then you still have other ones. So basically these are just like the emergency sights for real close range.
Okay.
They're for really close range, and then you actually have rifle sights for longer range.
You want to put a scope on that?
I might put like some type of red dot on it. I don't know. We'll see. I need to go back and modify stuff. And I need ammo for it. I have to make ammo.
If you can, yeah.
You know, I wonder if the MP7 is polygonally rifled. I'm going to assume it is. Well, actually, no. I shouldn't make that assumption.
Yeah, how stupid of you to make that assumption.
HK loves polygonal rifling. They love doing it. It's great. I think polygonal rifling is cool because it's another thing that makes brain go burr. I think it's really cool. It also makes it easier to clean. I don't know if the MP7 is polygonally rifled.
But that's common knowledge. How could you not know? A couple different stocks. So you can fold the stock in.
So you can have the stock. You can literally fit this gun into a holster. Mm-hmm. You're giving someone a gun that is the size of a large pistol, but it has the ability of a small rifle. That is why I love PDWs.
Yeah.
Normally, I don't like a thing that is designed to do multiple things, because that usually means that it doesn't do any of those things very well.
Jack of all trades, master of none?
No, that's different from what I'm talking about.
Well, it sounds like it's what you're talking about. It does many things, but it does not do them well.
There's also more to that phrase that everyone forgets, which is Jack of all trades, master of none is often better than a master of one. Well, anyway, people always forget that part.
Well, here's the perfect example of it being that. It's a jack of many trades, and it's not really a master. It's not the best rifle, and it's not the most compact handgun, but you like it for a reason. It is in some ways the best of both worlds.
My brain just completely shut down. Why you gotta do this to my autistic brain, man? Why you gotta take? You know I have ADHD and I can't fucking focus. All right. Anyway, I like this. It's
sorry, I didn't mean to do that to you.
You can unfold the sights and they're like this, so that you have kind of like these standard, typical rifle style sights.
Sure,
yes?
It's not bad.
And then you can fold the sights back down, and now they are your typical pistol style sights. Pistol style sights are really good for, I would say, out to like 50 yards. Anything more than that, and you're gonna want the rifle style sights.
You could also go for a scope, although I don't know if you need a scope on a submachine gun.
No, having a red dot sight is nice. A red dot sight is a lot easier.
Put the aimpoint M2 on that.
I mean, some people do.
It looks silly.
It does look silly, but the advantage of the Aimpoint M2, without going on a huge tangent about optics, armor and then the armor on a riser, aimpoint on a riser, aimpoint on another riser, EOTech EXPS3, EOTech 552, and the Aimpoint M2. All of these sights do the exact same thing. All they do is project a little dot into the center of the window that you use for aiming. The reason I like putting red dot sights on things like this, and now pistols, we're at a point now where red dot sights have become so commonplace on handguns that multiple manufacturers are just making slides to accept a red dot sight from the factory. Some of them are even making them with a red dot sight already on them. This is something that like 10 years ago, people looked at you weird for putting a red dot sight on your pistol. They were like, no, that's dumb. Why would you do that?
Just use the iron sights.
What happens when the battery dies? What happens if it breaks? What happens if blah, 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 blah? Just use the iron sights. This sounds like a skill issue to me.
You're saying that in a mocking tone, but didn't you have that mindset yourself?
Yeah, battery life and durability were the two concerns I had with putting red dot sights on the slide of a handgun.
Yeah, is the battery life long?
Battery life has basically been resolved to the point that most red dot sights have somewhere in the range of 50,000 hour battery life. Basically what I do is once a year I replace the batteries in my red dot.
Well, you're always complaining about having to put batteries in your pants when driving power armor. Now you're going to put batteries in your gun, too.
I don't have to replace the batteries in my gun every 15 minutes.
I see.
That's why I don't like charging the batteries for my pants, because charging the batteries for my pants, I have to do it every 15 minutes. And then, also, the pockets just fall off of my pants anytime someone sneezes at me.
And your other concern about it possibly being too fragile?
Durability has basically been resolved. There's still some optics. Some optics have more or less durability than others. I really like the Trijicon RMR because it's just made out of a chunk of aluminum. It's just a cast chunk of aluminum that they just do some minor machining work on. I have literally dropped RMRs on top of the RMR and it has taken no damage to it whatsoever.
Okay.
Those are great. SIG and Loophole both do a thing where their optic is... The body is made out of aluminum, and it's relatively thin aluminum, but what they do is they put a steel shield around the optic to protect it from any minor bumps or banging into stuff. A lot of optics have been made with much thicker glass on the front of it, so it's really hard to shatter that glass.
Do the majority of your firearms have red dot sights on them now?
Yeah, the majority of the ones that I use on a pretty regular basis have red dot optics on them. And then one of the other things, like, if you have a red dot optic on a gun, and for some reason your red dot optic goes completely down, that's why you still have backup iron sights on it. Yeah. I still have iron sights on my Glock 17 that I modified. I still have iron sights on that, and it just has a red dot with it. The other thing you can do is you can just use the window of your optic as a giant aiming window, and if you are within about, I would say, 25 yards, you're probably going to get all of those rounds onto the target. It's just not going to be a nice little tight group. They're all going to go into what I like to refer to as minute of person.
Yeah, it won't be a tight cluster, but it'll get the job done.
It'll work. Minute of person is... Okay, so to simplify it very, very briefly, minute of angle is at 100 yards, your grouping will be within 1 inch. Minute of angle is 1 inch at 100 yards.
Okay.
And then what I like to call a minute of person is at 100 yards, all of my rounds are going to impact the torso.
All right.
That's what minute... I jokingly...
You made that phrase up. It's not a normal phrase.
It's not a normal phrase.
Gotcha.
Anyway, going back to these optics... Yeah, all of these optics do the exact same thing. The only reason I said that the EOTechs are different is because EOTechs are not what you would consider a traditional red dot sight where you have a pane of glass that the dot is projected onto. EOTechs are what are called a holographic sight, where it's basically using a laser to project a hologram in the center of the optic. They both have their pros and cons. Red dot sights are generally cheaper. Holographic sights are generally more expensive. And they have more circuitry on the inside of them. However, a holographic sight, the dot does not need to be in the center of the window. You don't really have to worry about parallax. You do, just not as much.
Nope.
Parallax is still a thing that you have to consider, but not really. For the most part, if you have an EOTech and the entire front is covered with mud, except for, like, the top left corner, you can just move the dot into the top left corner of it, and it'll still be zeroed.
All right.
It's just kind of a weird quirk of how holographic optics work. They're really cool. I think they're really neat. It does mean that they cost more. Anyway, whatever. They all do the same thing. Basically, what you're getting when you go from something like an RMR to a T1 is you're getting a bigger window. When you go from a T1 to an M2, you get an even bigger window. And bigger window means you get more light transmission. It's easier to see through it. You get a wider field of view. That's basically what it means.
Why would you want to raise your sight up anyway? Why do you put the M2 instead of the M1 of the RMR?
It gives you a more heads-up posture when you bring the rifle up. One of the other reasons to do it is if you were shooting with night vision goggles.
Gotcha.
I also would not put a Spectre DR on an MP7.
Aw, but that looks goofy and fun.
It does look goofy and fun, but I don't really need a 1 to 4 power magnified optic that's ballistically calibrated for 5.56.
Well, you're lost.
And then, oh yeah, you can fold up the grip on the front of the MP7, which is cool. I think that's really neat. I like that it folds.
Yeah, you probably want to have it down, though.
I'm going to have it down for just a little bit more controllability, and then we've got rail left. Let's see. You can put a Surefire.
Flashlight.
You can put a Pac 15.
Laser
and just a weird other laser.
Yeah.
I don't know if we really need any.
You do what you want to do. It's your MP7. You can also change its...
Ooh, it could be painted.
Yeah. Tiger striped, zebra.
Zebra paint. You know what? We're gonna do the paint line.
Not bad for a relic from
I
the
think that's
past.
great.
Do
Crazy
any other
good.
tricks?
Wow, you're so cool, Zach. All right. Anyway, we're gonna rename the MP9 to MP7 we have at home.
You could call the MP7 plus 2.
No, so this is the MP7, and then this is the MP7 we have at home.
All right.
Because you can actually legally get one of these, and you can't get one of these.
What is the difference between those two? Why can't you have one but not the other?
I mean, you can see the similarities, though, right?
Yeah,
like,
I
even
see
you
it.
can see that.
I absolutely can. Is the MP7 not available just because H&K doesn't want to sell it?
Yeah, basically.
Oh, okay.
They just don't want to sell it to civilians.
I thought maybe there was a quirk of regulation, like there was a
Nope.
like the barrel was 1 millimeter too long or something. I didn't know.
Nope. And even if that was the case, they've done stuff like that before. Like, they didn't want to sell the G36 to civilians, so they made the H&K SLA, which is just like a bastardized G36. I still kind of like the SLA. I think it's fun. I think it's really cool looking. But it's not a G36. That's the SLA's biggest crime, is that it's not actually, you know what? No, its biggest crime is that it takes magazines that look identical to the G36, but they're single stack rifle magazines. Like, why would you do that, H&K? The fuck is wrong with you?
Why do you keep calling it the SLA? You can just call it the Slate. It's a pretty cool nickname.
You know, I had never really even thought about that, and it's also kind of funny because HK makes a bunch of their civilian guns in this weird, like, slate gray color.
Yeah, okay.
So that's kind of funny.
Call it the Slate.
Now that you bring that up, I wonder if they did that on purpose.
Made it slate gray.
All right, anyway. And we'll use it for a little bit, and then maybe I'll put a different optic on it. Yay, 40-round magazine. Ah!
Okay.
This gun makes me so freaking happy.
I'm glad you're happy, and what would make me happy is going on an adventure instead of staying here at base.
Also, Mike, I found a Bren gun.
What is that? You got the magazine sticking out of the top? That's just silly.
Yeah, no, you put the magazine sticking out of the top because that aids in feeding.
Your gun's got a mohawk.
And then it means that you can get the gun lower to the ground, and as an added bonus, it also makes it easier for the assistant gunner to change mags very quickly.
That does make sense, I suppose. Still silly. Silly looking.
I think cool looking is what you mean.
Yep.
I don't remember the exact year the Bren gun entered service, but it's like a World War II issue light machine gun.
Uh-huh. How do you use the sights if the magazine is in front of them?
That's not the rear sight. That's the paddle for releasing the magazine. The rear sight's offset to the side. See?
Oh, okay.
And then that big drum right there is for adjusting range. Standard magazine, yup.
Pretty standard, all right.
Standard sights. You can put glow sights on it, which we don't need. Muzzle, nothing on the muzzle. That would make sense.
Not a lot of
It's already-
customization options.
It's already got that flash hider. I know it doesn't look. I know it looks like a cone on the end of a barrel, and that's exactly what it is. That is a flash hider.
Okay.
And you'll notice there's a pistol grip on the back of the stock, and that's because when you have it like in a position, you put your support hand on the pistol grip so that you can more accurately adjust and aim.
Okay.
And then this lever on the side is how you remove the barrel from it. And then it's got a handle on that so that you can remove the barrel and then not have to grab onto hot barrel. And then also you'll notice that this thing, that it's got this little triangle that's on the top of it, that's a dust cover for the magazine. You slide that over when there's not a magazine in the gun so that you don't get dirt and debris into it.
Okay.
And this ejects out the bottom, if I remember correctly.
This gun looks like an upside-down AK. Stupid banana mag.
How dare you? The magazine is so heavily curved because it's in 303 British, which is a rimmed cartridge. So you kind of have to have a big curve in the magazine because the cartridges all got a rim on them. What the? Short stock, wire stock. Okay, that's weird. So this handguard is inspired by a Browning A5. And then I can put a M4 style stock. What the? Assault. What is What? Why can I put... Why does it change it to a Spaz 12 forend and stock on a shotgun that clearly is a Remington 1100 clone?
I can never tell if you're going to be impressed or indignant by what they do with these guns.
I'm confused, but like, this is... Put that stock on it. What? So it's like... This is weird, because it's like a weird Remington 1100, but also Spaz 12, but not.
The shotgun shells are red now, like it normally is.
Well, shotgun shells can be a bunch of different colors. The problem is they make 12 gauge in too many different colors now. 12 gauge was generally supposed to be red. 20 gauge was supposed to be yellow.
Oh.
Kind of like how gas cans are supposed to be the color for whatever type of fuel you're supposed to put in there. So diesel is yellow, kerosene is blue, gasoline is red. It was supposed to be a color coding system kind of like that. And then because they make shotgun shells they just started making them out of whatever color the manufacturer felt like. You can buy a box of federal shotgun shells that are red, white, and blue colored. So because of that, it's like nobody really follows what color it is anymore.
I see.
And then also it's just like you can just stamp on the bottom of it what caliber it is or what gauge.
It would have been handy if it were color coordinated, though.
Ah!
You stared at the brick and the brick stared back.
This is a very good brick.
That's a gun, but yeah, it does look like a brick.
Oh! I found a G11.
It does look silly, I'll say.
I found the Kraut Space Magic gun.
Okay.
It's made of magic.
What caliber is it?
Okay, so it's in 4.7 by 33 caseless ammo, which is weird.
Maybe the case would have added the extra .07.
Caseless ammo is a really weird concept. I don't know if you know what caseless ammo is.
I've seen caseless ammo in cartoons. You know how they fire the bullet and then the casing travels with the bullet?
Yeah.
That's what caseless ammo is.
I know you're doing a bit, but you're actually kind of correct.
I shouldn't be.
Pretend this is your bullet, right?
Hello, bullet.
You make a rectangle around it out of explosives. And then you put a primer in the very back of that block of explosives. Mm-hmm. When you put that into the chamber and hit the primer, all of the explosives burn up and push the bullet out the end of the barrel.
Yeah.
And then nothing is left behind in the chamber.
So no shell casing to eject.
The advantage of caseless ammo is that you can fit more rounds into a magazine now because you don't have to put the shell casing in there.
And grunts love it because they don't have to do brass cleanup.
The disadvantage of caseless ammo is we're still not quite at the point where it works.
Right.
The problem is that with temperature changes, it can swell or get smaller. The real problem is when it swells.
Yeah.
So if it's like really hot and really humid, it starts to like puff up a little bit, and then it doesn't feed in the gun anymore. It's really cool in concept. In practice, it didn't work great. One of the other problems with caseless ammunition is that it is prone to cook off. Because you've been doing so much fire in the chamber, it's very hot. So when the cartridge is just sitting in there, it can actually heat up to the point that the round just goes off.
That's not good.
Which is something that can happen with other guns. That's actually specifically why a lot of machine guns fire from the open bolt, which means that the bolt has to go all the way forward, chamber around, and then it fires as soon as the chamber is closed. So that you don't have a round just sitting in the chamber and it can cook off.
I see.
But at the time, this was the future.
When was this? When was this the future?
The 80s. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah,
Rail mag?
Yep. Isn't this thing weird?
Yeah.
Isn't this thing so weird? This thing on the top, I think.
The upper receiver?
That's the magazine.
Uh-huh.
That is the magazine. When you shoot it, the magazine goes boop and pops backwards. Yeah.
It's pretty silly.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
That is the magazine. This giant stick is the magazine.
I like how your gun is half a wind-up toy.
I'll get to that in a second. What's really goofy about this is you could carry 2 more spare magazines on the top of the gun. So that when your main magazine, the one in the middle, when that was empty, you would rip it out and throw it away and grab one of the other ones and then shove it into the gun. You had 90 rounds on the top of this gun ready to go.
3 magazines of 30.
3 magazines of 45 rounds.
3 magazines of 45 rounds would not be 90.
You could have more than 90 rounds on the top of this 45 for, what is that, whatever, doesn't matter. Okay, so, and then you mentioned that it's got a wind-up mechanism on the side of it.
I saw that.
The reason this is called Kraut Space Magic is because that is the feed mechanism.
The feed mechanism looks like broken scrap metal.
It looks like the inside of a clock or a sewing machine. Like, there's gears in there, there's weird little armatures.
What does winding it do?
The rounds are all pointed downwards. They're all stacked vertically, pointed downwards.
Uh-huh.
When the round gets to the end of the magazine, it drops down into the chamber, and then the chamber rotates into position and fires the cartridge.
Okay.
So when you are winding it, what you are doing is rotating the chamber so that a round can drop down into it.
And once that first round has dropped down, the rest will drop down normally when you fire?
Every single time you fire this gun, that chamber rotates to dispense the empty cartridge if it did not fire, to allow for cooling and for another round to drop down into it. It's so freaking weird.
I've never seen that mechanism before.
And you probably never will again, because I don't know. The people that designed this gun were on some kind of weird, not even next level, like next dimension thinking.
They made a complicated gun, and it's not going to be a big draw for governments that like simplicity, but it's still cool.
It's so... And that... What you said is one of the reasons why this thing was never adopted.
I would be surprised if it were with that mechanism.
Because the mechanism is so complicated. The moment you hand it to a grunt, the mechanism is just gonna blow up because it doesn't want to have anything to do with what he's about to do with it. It's just gonna go poof and explode into a million pieces. Springs and gears are gonna fly everywhere, and then you need a Swiss watchmaker to put it back together.
Yeah.
It is funny to me that this optic is the one that's on this gun, though, because this is the Trijicon SRS, which is widely regarded as a complete failure of an optic. It's not good. It's not bad, but it definitely isn't good. So it's funny that it's on the G11 because they're both obsolete.
Ha!
So this is the standard sight that would be on the G11.
Let me see. Ah.
It's a weird carry handle. Oh, that's like the weird prototype one.
Ooh.
Oh, that's good. Okay, maybe I can make it all prototype stuff. And we're gonna take the compensator off because the original G11 does not have, that's what the original G11 looks like. It doesn't have it, it's just flat on the end of it. It doesn't have anything. It really does look like a brick though.
Yeah, I see. You can make it look less like a brick by putting on, a suppressor, a smaller brick.
Yeah, I don't.
You can put another brick on your brick.
For just a second, we're gonna put it on burst because one of the other features of the G11 was its absolutely bonkers fire rate. That's funny that you could give it like a bake light for, oh my god, that's actually hilarious.
But Cryptic looks pretty good in my opinion. Yeah.
That's not a good camo.
Who needs camo when you got style?
Wood. If you actually had a G11 made of wood, that'd be really funny. Okay, so I just put it on burst mode. One of the things that's really goofy about the G11, oh, that's funny. I don't know if I'm gonna keep this optic, but yup, it does it. It actually does. Okay.
A single burst. That was 3-round burst at once. The G11 fires 3 rounds per millisecond.
2,100 rounds per minute, which is roughly 30-something rounds a second. That is the 3-round burst. That's how you end up with a 3-round burst that sounds like this.
It doesn't sound like a burst. It sounds like a single shot.
The way that works is the entire barrel and breech mechanism, when it fires the first round, that whole thing recoils backwards, and as it is recoiling backwards, it fires the first, second, and then third round, and then it contacts the back of the receiver.
Wow. That is magic, all right.
Kind of like how the AN-94, it fires, and as it's firing, the entire barrel and breech mechanism move backwards as it's firing, so it fires a first and then a second round, meaning that you get 3 rounds out of the gun before the recoil from the first round has actually hit the shooter's shoulder. The problem with that is you need an incredibly complicated mechanism to keep that up, and you can only get 3 rounds out of it. If you put this gun on full auto, it does 3-round burst, and then every round after that goes down to about 460 rounds per minute. So it's bip, 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 bip.
All right.
The reason for doing that massive like fire rate was at the time when this was designed in the 80s, they wanted to increase the hit probability of the average soldier because they did a whole lot of looking at combat analysis, and they realized you have a very, very short window of time. If you are a soldier, if I'm a soldier and I'm shooting at another soldier, let's say that stump is a soldier, I have a very limited period of time between when he gets up to run from cover to cover. So run from here to over there.
Sure.
I have a very short period of time in which that I can hit that soldier. And if you can find a way to make your gun fire more bullets, you're going to increase the amount of the hit probability.
I suppose.
So they ended up coming up with a bunch of different things. That's part of what the SPEW program was, which was, I think, in the 70s.
Because they wanted the guns to spew bullets.
You ended up with like weird things like guns that fired multiple flechettes, or you ended up with another thing that was duplex rounds where you stacked 2 or 3 bullets on top of each other inside the gun so that when you fired it, they came out and went into a little shotgun pattern. It was a whole lot of research that ultimately led to absolutely nothing. None of it really worked very well. It was an interesting concept, and that's why this gun has that 3-round burst feature that's, you fire 3 rounds so freaking fast.
Yeah.
And I love how this gun looks. It's just a brick.
It's a bit silly, all right.
It's very silly. I'm probably going to take this. I know it's sacrilegious to take this optic off of the G11, but like honestly, it's
I'm not going to tell anybody.
I'll use this optic for a minute. Again, this is another optic I really like, but It kind of sucks because the battery is a really weird proprietary one that you actually cannot remove as the consumer. You have to send it back to Aimpoint to have them replace the battery.
That's pretty lame.
Which is why they don't make this optic anymore.
Ah. Take that, Aimpoint, you and your bullshit PSP Vita memory sticks.
Oh my god, so now I have 2 of my dream guns that I will never actually be able to get in real life.
You have a lot of dream guns.
I have an MP7 and a G11. 2 of my holy grail guns, which I will never get in real life. Never, ever, 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 ever.
Nope.
You know what's really funny?
Do tell.
There's a list of prohibited weapons that you're not allowed to own in Canada.
Okay.
The G11 is on that list. There are maybe 1,000 G11s that exist in the entire world, and they're probably all in Germany. When he puts the new magazine in, you can see a little brown square on there. That's where the rounds He actually rendered the rounds in the magazine? Those are the rounds in the magazine.
Oh.
He actually rendered those. Holy shit, this mod is amazing. My only critique is that the prototype variants aren't available for it, but like, that would have required even more modeling. He would have had to do more stuff. He may have had to change the dimensions on things. So you know what? It's fine. Like this is, oh wait, I did see something else goofy. The S is backwards on this side.
Oh, it's a mirror one.
I think he just mirrored it. Well, it's weird because none of the other ones are mirrored.
Maybe that's like that on the real life gun. Maybe there's a backwards S on the real life gun.
No, H&K wouldn't do that. I do think it's funny on the G11 how it's safe, single, 3-round burst, minus 45.
You'll lose 45 rounds.
Yeah. You know what another really cool thing about this gun is?
Do tell.
Completely ambidextrous.
Oh yeah, the shell shoot out the bottom, yeah.
Well, there's no shells that come out of it.
Okay, yeah, you're right. The shell is right. Cases.
Yeah, it's completely ambidextrous. You've got sling points on both sides of the gun. Man, it's so cool, and it's one of those things that I wish it would have been, but it was just star-crossed lovers. It was never meant to be. Apparently, changing the receiver changes what type of grenade it is. That's kind of weird. Long barrel, short barrel.
Short barrel, China leg grenade launcher, maybe.
Full stock. Anton? Why is it called? Is it?
And maybe Anton Chigurh uses the China leg grenade launcher in
No,
that movie.
He doesn't.
Okay.
He uses a Remington 1187, which is somewhat anachronistic because I believe that movie takes place in the early 80s. I can put a muzzle. Oh goodness!
Spike your muzzle.
I can put a
Suppressed grenade launcher.
Oh, it's the Replicated Man. That's the name. That's
Haha, yes.
yeah, it's a quest for Fallout 3.
Why is there a scope on that?
I don't know why there's like a rifle scope on there. What loophole? Is it a loophole rifle scope? I'm not sure.
Yes, it is, because you can see it's in the bottom right-hand corner. It says loophole Mark IV.
Oh, yep, you're right. It is. Okay.
No, you're right.
Honestly, I don't remember who makes this standalone chassis for the 203, whether it's Knight's Armament or Lewis Machine & Tool. I'm leaning towards Lewis Machine & Tool at this point, if only because that is the rail-mounted 203, not the barrel-mounted 203, and I don't know if Knight's Armament ever made a standalone chassis for the barrel-mounted 203. I gotta find a sight that's gonna be the least offensive one.
It'd have to be some kind of combat site. I imagine that scope maybe not as good.
Oh, there we go. So
Hey!
there is a stock.
A wide variety of.
It's just launching railway spikes. Yeah, jamming a bunch of rusty old railway spikes in the end of a grenade show. What could possibly go wrong?
Ah, the makeshift Diddy bomb.
I think it's supposed to say dirty.
Probably.
Yeah. Naturally diffuses into the air after a time. Yes, because nothing is more natural than releasing a bunch of plutonium dust.
Nothing in nature can do anything unnatural.
You know what I kind of want to do for the grenade launcher?
Yeah?
Is just replace it with the solid slug, so I'm basically just firing a 40mm bullet. Yeah, you know, that's probably not going to feel good if I hit something with it. That thing in front of the trigger.
Yeah,
right
is that
there,
a safety?
That is the safety.
Oh.
Right now, the safety is off on this. When it's pulled backwards, it gets in the way, so you can't actually put your finger into the trigger guard.
Oh.
So that's part of how it also blocks the firing pin from moving, or the striker assembly from moving forward and activating it. It does two things.
Right.
When you equip this grenade launcher,
Need something?
you actually take the safety off, which is neat, and then when you put it away, they re-engage the safety.
Nice.
That's a neat little thing. I think they do the same thing for the MP9. When you put it away, he engages the safety if you listen.
Oh, yeah.
I guess the good thing about the M203 is the fact that it is compact and you can mount it under a rifle. Whereas the M79, which was the grenade launcher that the army was using before that, is basically the equivalent of big shotgun. It's just a big single shot shotgun. Realistically, that's what the M79 is. And kind of the problem with that is now you have this big grenade launcher that you give to a dude, and he kind of really can only carry the grenade launcher. He can't really carry the grenade launcher and a rifle
And the
a
ammo for
sidearm
it.
and the ammo for all of those. Up until they had the M203, what they would do is they would issue the guy with the grenade launcher and a pistol. And that was pretty much it. And like sometimes they had like buckshot cartridges, but those really aren't that effective.
Yeah.
The reason they're not very effective is because like you're not getting a good seal on the cartridge.
Makes sense.
When you fire a 40mm grenade, the grenade is taking up the entire inside of the barrel. A 40mm buckshot cartridge is basically, it's a shotgun shell you're putting in there that has a bunch of holes in the end of it, and the shot flies out of the holes of the shotgun shell and doesn't actually go anywhere inside. There's no wadding on the 40mm shotgun shell. Hang on, we got
Are we in trouble? Are we about
Yeah,
to die? We're about to die. Yep, we're in trouble. Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah, so the 40mm, basically, what I'm trying to say is the 40mm shot shells for the M203 are effective, but not like super effective. I don't think they were actually used. So they make another one that's called the Beehive round, and it basically is a 40mm shot shell that you just jam like 15 22 long rifle bullets into.
Huh.
So you're firing just a cluster of 22 long rifle at somebody.
All right.
The 60s and 70s were a weird time, man.
Yes.
Normally, to adjust the optic for windage and elevation, you have two knobs on it, which this one does.
Uh-huh.
There's the really big one, and that adjusts brightness, and then there's that little tiny one, and then that other little tiny one. You have to take those off, those little caps, and then there's a thing under it that you use to adjust windage and elevation.
All right.
Aimpoint decided they were going to be real fucking funny, and those two little nubs that are sticking out are what is called a spanner wrench, because there's two small circular indents on it that you use to adjust it. Every other optic, you just either twist the thing or you use a flathead screwdriver to adjust windage and elevation. This one, you gotta use those two stupid little nubs. If you lose those two little adjustment caps, you no longer have a tool to adjust windage and elevation.
Ah.
There is another tool you can get, but it means that you now have to carry another tool to adjust your optics. And this optic is really good. I actually really like the Aimpoint T2 optic.
You just wish it had a better way to be adjusted?
Oh, I'm sorry, this one is a T1, it's not the T2.
How can you tell the difference?
Well, according to this, it's a T1, but this would be the H1 because it doesn't have the fencing that protects those mounts. So this would be the H1, not the T1. Anyway, whatever. Anyway, everyone was like, that's really stupid. Why are you making us use this dumb spanner that we will lose immediately to adjust our optic? That's dumb. Change it. Make it better on the next one. And Aimpoint went, okay. So they made the next optic they came out with, which is the Aimpoint Acro. You have to use a T10 Torx bit to adjust it. So now, you like, at least on this one, you could potentially stick like two bullet tips into it and like twist it. On the new one, you have to just use a T10 Torx bit, which is like this tiny little Torx bit, and it's just like, again, you need a specific tool for it, and it's like, what the fuck, Aimpoint? Why did you do that?
Why does Aimpoint hate people?
I don't know. They thought it would be real fucking funny. It's infuriating is what it is. Goodness. I know we've already looked at the...
I don't remember that. The extended...
I know we already looked at this, and I forgot about the giant freaking suppressor.
I don't remember the extended barrel for the Lee Enfield, though.
I mean, like, that's about how long old rifles used to be.
It's still fun.
Alright, anyway, that's not what I meant to come in here for. What I meant to come in here for was this.
The pipe grenade launch rifle.
Standard receiver. Can I have it not painted with a bunch of Raider bullshit?
Probably. We bring it back to base where you got all your paints. Boom pipe paint, and then standard paint.
Green or... I mean, say I would paint it green, personally, but... Alright, fine, we'll leave the dumb Raider paint on there for a little bit.
Yeah, we'll change it later when we get back to base.
Honestly, I feel like they did a pretty good job making this grenade launcher. I think it looks pretty good. There is some stuff that's kind of weird, like the fact that it's just giant screws holding this receiver together on the back. They didn't necessarily need to do that.
There, open the breech. Eject.
Oh, see, that's kind of weird because the receiver is getting in the way of where the barrel is. I like this idea of how it opens. I think that's the swivel off to the side is actually really interesting. And that does kind of make sense for how you would home build a grenade launcher, because a swivel off to the side, in my opinion, is probably going to be a bit easier to build than a hinge pivot like on the M79. And it's definitely a lot more easy to make than a cam pivot like on some of the there's some European grenade launchers that have like a cam pivot that moves forward and then cams out to the side, which is a little awkward. But yeah, you can see like the grenade body itself is clipping through the receiver there.
Yeah, a little imperfect.
Honestly, it doesn't look terrible though. Like it's not a bad looking little like pipe grenade launcher.
Oh, it's fun and novel.
I like this. To me, this looks so much better than the normal pipe weapons in this game. Whoa!
Hello, fun new weapon.
Is this the Chinese grenade launcher? Oh, that's goofy. Okay, so this.
They got Nuka-Cola memorabilia on the stock.
What's really funny is this optic that's on there is literally an Elcan M145 optic. So this right there, this little angled trapezoidal shape with the screw in it, that is normally on the front of the optic. The way that this sight is designed, where it's got a slight angle to it, that is normally the front of the optic. So they put the mount of the M145 backwards onto it.
Okay.
Also, it's way smaller than it would normally be. That optic normally would be right about where this carry handle starts to the back of where the optic is now.
I see.
That's how big that optic would normally be. This is pretty much the QLZ-87 Chinese grenade launcher. Specifically, the bipod mount, and this isn't a rear sight. This is just straight up a carry handle. That is all copied off of the QLZ-87 grenade launcher.
Oh.
Because this grenade launcher has a barrel that's so thick, this would theoretically work, but notice that the handguard is cutting into the barrel.
Kind of, yeah.
It is cutting into the barrel, so like you wouldn't actually be able to fire a grenade out of it, especially if the ejection port is back here. That means the handguard is cutting into where the barrel is, so that wouldn't actually work.
Oh, yeah.
Well, currently it apparently doesn't have a magazine, which is interesting. Oh, look what it says right above the safety lever.
Thump. Ah. And a different weapon as well that seems like it might be more up my alley. A saw blade launcher.
You can have the saw blade launcher with the P90 magazine on it. Why does it have a P90? I mean, okay, I take it back. That actually, it's not actually a P90 magazine. That's just the tray at which the saw blades come out of. Long barrel, fluted long barrel, which actually would be more keeping in line with the QLZ-87. All right, well, it's already got a marksman stock on it. Huh.
Go for a larger magazine. That is drum mag.
Oh, well, there's the drum magazine that the QLZ would have. And then you could put the QLZ muzzle brake on it, which is the actual muzzle brake wow. Yeah, so they just straight up copied that.
And some graffiti.
Chinese, you can do standard paint, Chinese Army, desert, graffiti, standard magazine. I guess we could put the big old stupid drum mag on
there. There you go, an actual magazine.
I'm gonna put the standard magazine.
Oh, okay.
20% chance to cripple the target's leg. You mean explode the target? Because it's a grenade launcher. It's what grenades do, is they blow up the target.
So short, you can't even see
and
it.
It's,
what?
We will not be putting the ballistics scope on everything. Oh, and I should check the rapid pipe grenade launcher rifle.
Yeah, you want to change the paint job on that too. Yeah, that one.
Why not? We'll put that stock on it, even though that stock looks god awful.
Yeah, it does. For your grenade launcher?
So, because it sticks up so high, what my thought is you're supposed to line this up with the front sight so that you're getting the correct parabola to fire through it.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that's not how that's going to work. A suppressor.
That's a big thing.
I will eschew putting a suppressor on my rapid pipe grenade launcher.
All right, but if I find what is going on there.
All right, so I promise you that's not how this is going to work. Are you ready?
All right.
You ready? I'm about to be vindicated.
Yep.
Yup, I am vindicated.
Yeah.
I did some research last night, and I learned...
Of course you spent your evening researching
Of course
firearms.
I did. Yeah, why wouldn't I? That's what I always do, man. I always do that. I love that. I did some research, and I learned some stuff about this grenade launcher. When I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, they copied the QLZ-87 grenade launcher, which I was correct about that. They copied it even more closely than I thought they had. The thing at the top that is the carry handle, that is actually the charging handle for this gun. This entire piece moves backwards to eject the shell casing.
And that is quite goofy.
What this is modeled after is the QLZ-87, which is a 35 by 32 SR, which means semi-rimmed, high-velocity grenade launcher. The thing that's interesting to me about that is that most man-portable grenade launchers, like the M79 or the 203 or the 320, all of those use 40 by 53 millimeter low-velocity grenades. Most 40 millimeter grenade launchers are not high velocity. The advantage of doing a high velocity 40 millimeter grenade is it gives you a flatter trajectory. The disadvantage of doing a higher velocity grenade is that it means you have to build the grenade launcher up a lot more.
I really wish I better understood what you were explaining to me. Sometimes I feel like a goldfish blinking, staring at you, unsure of what you're saying.
The QLZ-87 is more mechanically interesting than most US grenade launchers.
More complex?
Yes. It's basically a weird modified version of the Degtyarev system that's in like the Dushka machine gun. Also, that actually is the gas assembly on this. That's actually how this gun functions. Concealed inside this square piece is the gas piston for this gun. When it fires, gas travels up this tube, goes into that, and that is what pushes the bolt back. There's a couple things that they didn't do on this gun that exist on the actual QLZ-87. The way the stock comes out of the gun is it's literally just a tube that comes straight back that has a butt pad on it. On the actual QLZ-87, the trigger and fire control unit is located like on this side of the gun, sticking out at a weird angle. It's a flapper lock grenade launcher.
You sure you don't mean flacker lock? Because It's called the flacker here. But...
No, it's flapper lock. It's a really old system. Not a lot of things use flapper lock anymore, just because it's actually kind of mechanically complex and it's easier to do like roller delayed or rotary delayed or like a rotating bolt or something. Yeah, it's a really interesting grenade. So look at the size of that fucking piston on that thing. It's a fully automatic man-portable grenade launcher that is intended for infantry use. It fires high-velocity grenades, which again is just like, okay, interesting choice, but all right.
Is it the rapid fire that makes them high velocity?
No, it's the way the grenade is designed that makes them high velocity. Normally, you don't really do high-velocity grenades for a man-portable infantry role. Think about how much recoil there is from a 1-ounce 12-gauge slug.
Yes.
And then now amplify that by even more because you had to put more powder to get it to go as fast as a 12-gauge slug. Something I think I just realized. I'm pretty sure these iron sights are reversed. Yep, that is exactly what's happening. Oh my god.
The sights are backwards.
That is the front sight and that is the rear sight. Oh my god, that's funny. That's really funny. This is supposed to be the front sight, and that is supposed to be the rear sight, because I can see those two screws on it, and it looks like those would be a little thing that you push in and then slide up and down to adjust the range you're aiming for.
This is why you have different people scavenging and different people crafting. And now the saw blade launcher.
Here, we'll make it somehow do more damage. I'll change it from an air tank to a nitrogen tank.
Ooh, is that powerful air?
Well, you can get nitrogen to a higher pressure into a tank than you can air.
Oh.
Which is why nitrogen tanks are more dangerous than compressed air tanks.
I did not know that.
Oh, you can change it to be electric powered instead of air powered. I like how the recoil compensating stock literally just has a fucking metal pad stuck on the end of it.
Yeah.
It's like not any different. It's like, to get off on a slight tangent here, it's whenever people ask me, like, what do you think of this obscure Russian weapon that there's like 4 of? And I'm like, dude, I don't fucking know. I've only ever seen photos of it. It looks cool. What do you think of the TKB-22 assault rifle? I don't know. It looks neat. I mean, well, it looks like a monstrous bastardization of Bakelite, but whatever. That's...
careful with that.
Is that an AR-10?
I have no idea. You tell me. You're the gun guy.
Yo, it's an actual Armalite AR-10.
Never heard of that one.
Damn, what? Where the hell were they hiding this? Why is there an AR-10 here? I want this.
They weren't hiding it at all. They were firing at us.
The AR-10 is the precursor to the AR-15.
Oh. Here I thought the AR-15 was a gift handed down from the gods.
It's the thing that came before it, and an AR-15 is basically just like a miniaturized AR-10, effectively.
Okay.
Not really miniaturized, but you get it. You know AR-15s have that carry handle?
Yeah.
Like this?
You're not supposed to carry it? Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh, all the drill sergeants are like, oh, you're not supposed to use the carry handle, don't use the carry handle.
Yeah, they got it on my case, all right.
That's what it's on there anyway. The carry handle has two purposes, actually. The first purpose is that it's a carry handle. The second purpose is that it protects the charging handle on the AR-10.
Oh. I see.
Of course the animation cycle is different.
Yeah, okay.
The thing on the top is the charging handle. You stick your finger in there and pull it back, so it's completely ambidextrous.
I see. So that the charging handle has less function on the AR-15 because it's not protecting.
Well, the charging handle on the AR-15, they moved it to the back of the rifle.
Yeah. So it's not protecting anything.
Man, I can't believe I found an AR-10. An original AR-10 too, not like a weird modernized version.
I can't believe half the stuff we see.
One of the neat things about the AR-10 is that it uses, it's not Bakelite, but it's a material that's similar to Bakelite for the handguard and stock.
The Armalite AR-10.
Manufactured in Gotland Republic.
Gotland?
Gotland is an actual place.
It's got a very long barrel.
Trial!
Trial? Oh, it's a trial weapon?
This is a trials weapon, apparently.
Huh.
Yeah, the thing that's kind of weird about the handguard on this one is that they made half of the handguard out of a type of, again, not really Bakelite, but something similar to Bakelite. It's like a resin. Half of it is that, and then the other front half is a heat shield, because they really didn't plan on you grabbing any further forward than here. And then you've got a thing on the front, which this is designed the way it is for launching grenade rifles.
It looks like the barrel is ribbed for her pleasure.
It's ribbed for launching grenades. AR-10s are cool. Just 1950s technology.
All right.
I really hate the Fallout 4 assault rifle. There's a lot they could have done. Like, okay, it's designed for people in power armor. Then why isn't it bigger and belt-fed?
And chunkier. Well, yeah, they did that eventually.
Make it bigger and make it belt-fed. And then it makes sense if it's for people in power armor. If it's not for people in power armor, why is it so bulky? And why is it side magazine fed?
I don't know.
It's weird because it's like, it's a bunch of different features of guns all slapped together. This cylindrical part on the front is indicative of early Maxim guns because you've got like, you had a very thin barrel on the inside of it, and then the entire barrel was surrounded by water, which helped keep it cool.
Isn't it a bit strange that we don't use water cooling all that often? It's more common to, for example, swap out the barrel.
It's just how technology's evolved, because carrying around a lot of water is a pain in the ass.
That's true. Water is surprisingly heavy.
And water is incredibly heavy. It's a pain in the ass. It gets everywhere. If someone accidentally shoots your water can, now you don't have the thing to cool your machine gun. It's a lot easier just to make a thicker barrel that you change out every, like, 500 rounds or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, like, the barrel is offset, which is, again, indicative of, like, an early Maxim machine gun. Because on early Maxim machine guns, the barrel was not centered. But then the front of the jacket, how it tapers down a little bit, is indicative of a Lewis gun. The same thing for these cooling fins on the back. And the Lewis gun was different because the Lewis gun wasn't water-cooled. The Lewis gun was air-cooled. So it's got the vents on the back from a Lewis gun and the tapered barrel shroud on the front from a Lewis gun. But then the barrel is offset as if it's a Maxim gun. So, like, what's the point of the cooling shroud on the back? The grip and trigger scream like Sterling machine gun or submachine gun to me. And then you have the plastic handguard off of an M249 with extra material added to the back of it. And then the receiver, the front of the receiver from an M249.
And that, the barrel handle on the right side there.
And then, yeah, you've got like the carry handle off of a bunch of, a lot of machine guns have that carry handle. But then, like, there's the cocking handle on this side of the gun. This is off of like a Madsen, or Masson if you're pronouncing it the correct way. And then, like, I don't know what the hell this receiver is. Like, it's so wide. It's so wide.
Yeah, it's chunky.
It doesn't need to be that wide. The stock is just weird. A lot of times they'll do something kind of like this on machine gun stocks, or sometimes even on sniper rifles, and the whole point is when you have it in a position, you can reach with your supporting hand backwards and brace it on the stock.
So that's what the divot there is for.
But then why is there like an oiler bottle in it? I don't understand why this gun is the way it is. Why does it feed from magazines? It doesn't make any sense. It should be belt fed.
There's also a little hole.
Why is it called the assault rifle when clearly it's supposed to be a light machine gun? Those are two completely different things. A light machine gun is not an assault rifle. And then the trigger has got like the weirdest flat rectangular trigger shoe on it. This lever looks like it's about to fall off the side of the gun, and it's on there for no reason. Nothing about this gun makes sense. I don't know what they were going for when they designed this. It looks like they covered a Lewis gun barrel in glue, threw it into a barrel of gun parts, and just shook it around a bunch, and then whatever came out attached to it, they were like, yep, that'll work.
Okay.
That's perfect. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It is beyond my comprehension as well. But as we all know, the pre-war government could do no wrong, so maybe it made sense to them.
And it's like, clearly that tube coming off the side is meant to be the gas tube. It's not a water recirculation tube, it's meant to be the gas tube. In which case, they added, that's so much complexity for no reason. For absolutely no reason. That is so much complexity. Maybe I could understand if this was like a design by committee thing. I mean, like, maybe if it's like the Gewehr 1888 commission rifle, kind of like that design by committee where it's just a bunch of bullshit that was all thrown together, I could understand it. But like, even that still looks like a functional gun.
As opposed to this,
As opposed to this thing that looks like an air fryer with a 249 handguard stuck to it.
My theory is that the weapon is so complex to deter any of our enemies from picking it off the battlefield and using it against us.
That's not a thing, though. That's really not a thing.
Well, I'm trying to figure it out. I don't know either.
God, it's so bad. It's so bad.